Hello, everyone. How's it going? So I wanted to do a few lives. I know I meant to actually do a live on Friday, but the way it worked out, it just didn't work out properly. So hopefully everyone got my time from my previous video. But so as you've seen from the title of this video, the whole purpose, now that it is February 8th, so we're in the week coming up to Valentine's Day, the whole goal is you are with your specific person for Valentine's Day. That's the goal. Everyone watching this is going to achieve it. Everyone watching this is going to have an amazing Valentine's Day with their specific person, or even maybe, like I mentioned in the title, maybe it is your first Valentine's Day with your specific person. But either way, what's up, Fantasia? Hopefully, too, I put the chat on correctly. So if you are watching this after the fact, you can still see the chat, because I think with questions and things like that, I think it is very important. Fantasia says the live took me by surprise. That's good. That's good. Sometimes the best things are a surprise. What's up, Patrick? Good morning. What's up, Jay? What's up, Jay Cole, actually, in the chat? Awesome. How's it going? So the first thing, so we're going to do about 25 minutes public, and then I'm going to go about 25 minutes into the members only live, because I definitely want to, for all my members, answer any questions that might be on their mind in regards to being with their specific person for Valentine's Day, because again, that's our goal. So if you are coming in, make sure to comment and make sure to know, by watching this, by putting attention and energy into this, you are, in fact, you have no choice but to be with your specific person for Valentine's Day. Because as we know, and have, as I spoke in other lives, this all is a decision. And I have a bunch of notes for today, so hopefully we have enough time to get through it all. But one of the biggest problems in our creation, so in manifesting anything, so whether it's SP, and let's take, for example, it's the ability to be with our specific person for Valentine's Day. Zachary asked, can this SP also be an X? Yes. So a specific person, as I would say most people know, maybe not, is anyone you want. It doesn't even have to be anyone that you want a romantic relationship with. A specific person can be maybe a friend you want in your life. But normally I think I wrote this in my book too. On this channel, we basically focus on romantic SPs. So yes, your ex can absolutely be your specific person. So Zachary, it looks like, is going to be with their ex for Valentine's Day. So yes, that's something you could absolutely do. But it all comes from too much effort and a lack of confidence. So who in here tries to force things in their reality or puts in a lot of effort, but then simultaneously doesn't have the confidence to back it up? That's the only reason we're not seeing what we want in the way that we want. Because when we lack confidence, we haven't truly made the decision. And our mind wants to make up for confidence by physically acting it out in our reality. So right now, we could have the thought, I want to be with my specific person for Valentine's Day. A decision of I'm going to is extremely confident. But most of us, or none of us in this chat, you used to think this way, might think, but what if it doesn't happen? What if it's not going to occur? How could it happen? We're in no contact. There's a barrier. There's this, there's that, there's these circumstances. So what we do instead is we try to negate those worries or this lack of confidence through effort, right? We try to force our reality. We try to text them. We try to do things in order to make it occur. But if instead we sat back and chose our confident state and then acted from that, which I wanted to talk about in the future, the fact that you can't actually see from outside of the state you're in. So when you're in a state, you're always going to act in accordance. And if you're not in the state, you're always not going to act out in accordance. And yes, even if you're blocked, even if you're in no contact, I think a recent success story, someone was in no contact for 6 months and their specific person reached out to them. So there is nothing stopping you from creating that, just a lack of confidence. Because when you choose and decide something, your subconscious mind is immediately going to be acting it out, no matter what. When you say this is the outcome, your subconscious mind goes, okay, and it starts making it. When you say, I'm going to be with my specific person for Valentine's Day, your reality makes it occur. There isn't no, well, sometimes it feels like a lag, but it usually is from a lack of confidence towards what we want. And so if you're going to be with your SP for Valentine's Day, you're going to be with your SP for Valentine's Day. If you're blocked, if you're no contact and they're going to reach out to you, they're reaching out to you. It's all in the now. We want to be the person who already has what we desire. We're not becoming that person. We're not trying to convince ourselves through our external reality to be that person. We just are that person. And that's the confidence that we need, which then makes up for effort. You do not have to do or put in all this effort to create the outcome you want. You just have to assume and be that person. Okay. And this decision or this confidence actually comes from actually making a decision. When we say that we're going to be with our specific person for Valentine's Day, how many of us are truly making that the only decision? Remember, as I've said in previous videos, the word decision actually comes from Latin meaning to cut off. When you decide, you've cut off all other possibilities. But what do we usually think of as a decision? We think of it as hoping. We're like, I'm hoping I will be with my specific person for Valentine's Day. That's what we're doing. But it's not hoping. And what's up, Allison? Welcome in. We're not hoping that it's going to occur. That's not making a decision. If you get into a taxi cab and you give 100 different directions or say, I might want to go to this place, do you think the taxi driver is going to take you anywhere? The answer would be no. They wouldn't take you anywhere. They would be confused. You would get a hot and cold behavior right back. That's what happens in our reality as we make 15 different decisions simultaneously towards what we want. When we say, I'm going to be with my SP, but also there's this circumstance. But at the same time, we're in love, but it can't happen because of fill in the blank. We're going back and forth on these decisions. And of course, then we are going to receive hot and cold behavior coming back from us. But essentially, just to be certain, don't be in and out. Don't go in the taxi and give 5 different directions. Don't say you're going to be with your SP, but then also all these other possibilities. When you make a decision, your reality immediately starts acting. What's up, Tay? When you make and truly decide on something, it becomes your reality. There is nothing in your way except the fact of, there's actually a quote, if I'm saying this correctly, I'm not going to say it correctly. I can't remember it. But basically, the only impediment to your goal is not your barriers, but it's actually a lesser goal. And what that means is if you want to be with your SP for Valentine's Day, it's not no contact. It's not circumstances. It's not third parties that are actually in your way. It's actually the concept of getting something less or taking in something less, which is slightly off topic for what we're talking about today. But just remember then, your acceptance of anything other than what you want is the only reason why it's going to show up. And I'm going to make sure to go back and catch up on everyone's questions and comments. So be certain about your decision. Everyone in here, type in the chat. If you are with your specific person for Valentine's Day, then that's what you're doing. End of story. No excuses. You're in the taxi. You told them where you're going. You're not going back on that. Because we don't want to use force or willpower in this. When we've made a decision, that's that. Our subconscious mind will make it happen. The more we try to force it, the more we presuppose opposition. So what that means is when you feel I have to force it, I have to do these things, I have to act this out in order to be with my specific person. What you're implying is the more force and willpower you have to do or put in, the more you're assuming your reality is working against you. Imagine getting into the taxi and stating your destination. I want to go here. And you use mental willpower to make the taxi go faster. How successful do you think you're going to be? The answer is not very much. But this is because of the law of reversed effort. We would actually probably start impeding the process. So if we started trying to mentally force the taxi to move on forward or move faster, what we really would start to do, our words and our force would actually stress the driver out, and we would probably run into problems along the way. That's where then the law of reversed effort comes in, which isn't a new idea on my channel. It may be new here, but it's exactly what we want to be using for our specific people coming up to Valentine's Day. Because like I said, you are with your specific person for Valentine's Day, and you don't have to try hard for it. But the law of reversed effort states this: the harder you try to do something, the harder this thing actually becomes. You're basically assuming that it must be hard because you're putting in so much effort. And so what we want to do instead is pull back on the effort. If you put in less effort, it'll actually seem to be easier because of the law of reversed effort. I will tell you from personal experience, I have in my life, time and time again, tried to put effort in, tried to force things. It absolutely never works. And when I say this in a loving way. You will absolutely feel like you're punished trying to put in work. No one and nothing wants you to work hard. In the way, not of acting out what you want, but nobody wants you to work yourself to death through willpower. You will essentially feel punished, but what you're really doing is manifesting that it must be hard. Think of a time in which you tried really hard, and think of a time where you did barely tried at all. You'll find when you barely try at all, you are actually assuming on your reality it's easy. Your reality does the work for you. Your subconscious mind does the work for you. And then everything is natural, easy, and effortless. And like I said, in personal experience, time and time again, I've tried, been absolutely brute. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit just to get the point across. Brutally punished for that outcome. You do not need to work hard. And Allison wrote about society wants us to work hard. Yes, you do not gain from that. If you work hard, you manifest working hard. Not meaning that we can't be diligent, not meaning that we can't be persistent, not meaning that we can't be intelligent. You can be all those things, but the idea of exerting willpower doesn't have anything to do with it. A good example for people who think, or the logical mind that thinks, but we do have to do stuff to get things done. Well, yeah, but you don't have to stress out about it. I kind of relate to hard work or being exhausted related to that. You don't have to exhaust yourself in that way. And yeah, Savan, I saw the what you wrote. I need to make I get a lot of messages. So when you send voice messages, it just takes a little time because I want to give my 100% attention to each person. So don't worry, Savan. So we're not using willpower. We are not forcing things, right? Think of it. So Joseph Murphy has a really good example of this. Or there's a specific psychologist that describes the law of reversed effort, and it goes as such: when your desire and imagination are in conflict, your imagination wins the day. So take, for example, you're going to be with your specific person for Valentine's Day, but at the same time, your imagination can come in and alter it. You can think of your desire as, I want to be with my specific person, but then your imagination can be, but they're ignoring me, but it's not going to work out. But there's all these things in our way. The trick is when desire and imagination are in conflict, imagination wins. If you're imagining negative outcomes, but you desire what you want, imagination will overcome and be the winner, if you will. The reason being, and we could describe this through a Joseph Murphy metaphor. If I were to place a wooden plank on the ground and ask you to walk it, do you feel that it would be hard? So I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Everybody comment if they think, because I realize every time I bring coffee, I never actually drink it. So I'm going to drink it. If I put a wooden plank on the ground, would it be easy for everyone to walk? Allison wrote no. Allison, that's not the, you're making me laugh. That's not the answer we're looking for. If you put, like, think of in this room, you could just walk, right? You just walk. You just walk it. J. Cole wrote too. I like that, but you're right. Imagination is always the winner. So yeah, we'd all say yeah, right? We could walk across the. Oh, Allison, did I change the question? It's on the floor. On the floor. Can we walk it? We'd say yeah, easy. I don't like no decision. Like if I was like, oh, I'll give you $100 to do it, you'd be like, yeah. Immediately, you would do it. Now, I think everybody knows, if you already know this metaphor, you know where I'm going with this. In that statement, so walking on the ground, there is no discrepancy between desire and imagination. But if you take that same wooden plank and put it 100 feet in the air, now does it seem hard to walk? The answer would be yes. It would seem 100,000 million times harder to walk 100 feet in the air. But why? It's the same exact board. On the floor, you walked it 100 feet in the air. Now it's a problem. But the answer comes into desire and imagination are now in conflict. Oh, okay. I get it. I was asking, is it hard? I get it. Okay. Allison, no. So basically, is it easy? Is it hard? It's regardless. It's easy on the ground, but somehow difficult in the air. And Fantasia heights are not my thing. So 100%. It somehow is more difficult in the air. But the reason is it's because you imagine now falling, being 100 feet in the air, your desire to walk it is then counteracted by the act of falling. And so then it becomes really difficult, or so we feel. The same thing is happening with your reality towards your specific person. If you are attempting to do something, but your imagination is displaying the opposite, it is like the board in the air. So we can describe how manifestation is easy, manifestation is effortless, manifestation is automatic, but still your imagination is going to win. You can know logically all of these things. You can know that you can make a decision. You can know that it's easy and effortless. You can know that you do not have to use willpower. But if you're imagining the plank 100 feet in the air and you're scared of falling, or we're thinking next, I think it would be Saturday. Yes, Saturday is Valentine's Day. So on Saturday, you're like, I'm with my specific person. You can walk the plank, if you will, that takes you there. But if we're thinking, but what if there's a problem? What if this happens? But there's a third party. But what if they ignore me? Our imagination starts to overwhelm us. And then we have problems. That's the only difference. The only thing stopping you is imagination. So remember, the effortless way is the better. I would actually say your imagination gets sparked in the negative, literally based on the act of trying to force it. The act of forcing it is actually the only problem that inhibits us or creates this negative imagination. Because when you say, I've tried so hard, I've willed myself to do it, I've done all of these affirmations, I've tried so hard to make it happen. Remember, that's like you sitting in the taxi and saying, I mentally tried so hard to make the outcome that I want occur, but you're not forcing it. You are just being it. And then two, quick side note, because I'm going to do a members only stream. We're going to do in 5 minutes because I wanted to do 25 minutes and 25 minutes. So just so you know, if you want to hop in and continue with the talk, definitely think of becoming a member. Otherwise, I don't know where I did the countdown, but I do not see the countdown. There we go. So I've tried so hard. So again, if anyone wants to continue on with the rest of this chat, because I want to dive into more detail with the members on exactly what to do in order to be with their specific person for Valentine's Day. But you're totally free to watch this as many times as you want, or my other actions. But if you want to be with your specific person for Valentine's Day, definitely join in and watch the rest of the live, because you absolutely will. You will receive movement from this. So think of I tried so hard. But that's the problem. When we are trying really hard, we are just trying to force it. And you can't force your subconscious mind to do anything or to believe anything. In the same way, no one can force you to love them. You love them because of your embodiment. So always remember, you are never forcing your reality. That's something to always, always keep in mind. And think of it. So in the example here is taking a test. Imagine you are taking a test and you're trying to force your answer. Everybody has taken an exam in here probably before. Imagine attempting to take an exam, but you're forcing it. You would say in those moments, you start to lose your answers. If you're like, I need to answer this, this has to happen, your anxiety starts rising, and all of the answers that you knew are completely gone. Your mind goes blank. That's what happens when you're attempting to force your reality. Your mind goes blank. All of your state is lost, and you are seeing from a state that isn't in accordance with what you want. And then what happens? There's nothing there. But what then occurs? Once you relax, once you slow down, once the test is over, then everything comes back to you. But that's because a state of knowing or not knowing, a state of ease and effortlessness or hard work is just that. It is just a state that you're deciding. But the solution is, let's say you're taking an exam and you're going through or about to take an exam and you're running through the same thought process. The trick is to do something simple and easy. So the trick for the exam would be pick out a question that you know that is very easy. Do that one. That will then build the confidence, bringing you back to then answer all the other questions. It's basically the mental force is presupposing opposition. The more we are saying there's a problem, there's this against me, then we're going to see it that way. But I know we got a couple minutes left for the public stream, so I want to make sure I answer a lot of the questions. So Savan wrote, I'm not doing anything except good stuff about him. Okay. That's exactly what we want. Allison wrote, don't think about the past. 100%. I would say the past is like mental persuasion as well. Brisa wrote, sorry for my English. I'm trying to manifest my specific person. I want to be with him before Valentine's Day, but lately I've been feeling really anxious. So how can I stop feeling this way? So the anxious feeling is always related to our external reality. We're focusing on forcing things rather than being something. And that's usually what creates anxiety, because it's like looking in a mirror. If you tried to change your reflection in a mirror, it would seem impossible and thus would seem very frustrating immediately. The anxiety that would overwhelm you because it lacks empowerment. When you don't feel you can control something, it feels at a loss and it feels difficult to achieve. But instead, when you control what you can do, which is your state and who you are, your sense of embodiment, so in the mirror, you're changing your own clothes and the mirror changes, then you feel empowered. Then your anxiety goes. It's also usually a difference between making a decision as well. When you are deciding on something, because there is no other outlet or way, you have no other outcome but to just assume exactly what you want. And so once you made a decision, there can be no anxiety because you only have one direction. And so with this being said, I know we have 10 minutes or seconds left. If you want to hop into the next stream, join in. You can always reach me at kyleaugustcoaching.com. But I'll see everyone soon in another video.